Hey guys, so you ready for today's May 14, 2024, 12:50 p.m. Central Time. This is very interesting, and this ties into my prior videos talking about the Leahy Amendment, and I'll tell you why. But the White House is pissed. I brought this bill up. There's no number attached to it yet. It was created yesterday, uploaded. It's in front of the House Rules Committee. They're going to be discussing it today, most likely going to be voting and discharging it to the House. It'll go on the calendar. I have a feeling that Mike will be bringing it up and it will go for a vote. And there are quite a few Democrats that agree with this because they want the weapons that Israel was promised by Congress to go to Israel that Biden is holding up. And his reasoning is because if you go into Rafah, we're not giving you any weapons. Yeah, okay. Whatever. Not how that rolls. So anyway, here's the deal. This ties into my prior videos regarding the Leahy Amendment. Because if this passes the House, it will go to the Senate. Whether Schumer will bring it up or not is questionable. I foresee it possibly coming up, but I don't know. I really don't. Schumer's been really fucking weird about this Israel situation. But if this passes, obviously Biden is going to disagree with it, and he's not going to sign it. So it'll go back to Congress. They'll have to have a veto-proof bill for it to go into effect. Here's the deal. If this goes into effect, the only way this administration could hold up weapons legally from Israel is how? The Leahy Amendment. They will have to finish their, quote, reporting that they're supposedly doing at the State Department regarding human rights violations that they claim Israel has done. And the State Department has made it clear that they do have that report ongoing. So in order to hold up weapons in the future, Biden can't just say no. He will have to have a legal reason. That legal reason will be the Leahy Amendment. And how that works, I don't know. Meaning, how far that rolls into the future. Because if they're holding up aid, military aid from Israel because of the Leahy Amendment in the future, how far into the future does that go? Is that just specifically while they're in Gaza? Or is that like forever until something gets settled somewhere? I don't know. So anyway, here is the bill, H.R. blah. It says to provide for the expeditious delivery of defense articles and defense services for Israel and other matters. What's interesting about this bill is how Congress holds up funding for the Defense Department, for the State Department, and the Executive Office from being used to, one, enforce any type of delay, and two, for any of these specific programs they have going on that I'd have to look up to see what programs it would affect, but it would absolutely affect some people's paychecks in those departments, which would be a little sad. Not really. So anyway, moving on. It says Congress finds, it says short title will be Israel Security Assistance Support Act. Congress finds Section 2, a bunch of bullshit, doesn't mean anything. Sent to Congress. Congress condemns Biden administration for doing shit. Here's the news. Here is Section 4, Prohibition. None of the funds appropriated or otherwise made available under any act appropriating funds for the Department of Defense or Department of State for fiscal year 2024, any years prior may be available to withhold, halt, reverse, or cancel the delivery of defense articles from the United States to Israel, or to pay the salary or expense of any officer or employee of the Department of Defense or the Department of State who takes any action to support or further the withholding, halting, reversal, or cancellation of the delivery of such defense articles. And that says prompt delivery, and it says it wants prompt delivery to happen within, there actually is a time frame. I'll go into that in a second. It says that Congress was basically promised to Israel for fiscal year 2024 and 2025. It says, where is it? Oh, here we go. Prompt delivery of withheld items. Any defense articles and defense services described in subparagraph A or B, which I skipped, of this section that were withheld from delivery as of the date of enactment of this act shall be delivered to Israel not later than 15 days after the date of enactment of this act. Withholding of funds. Here you go. It says none of the unobligated balances of funds made available by prior acts making appropriations for the Department of Defense under heading, quote, Operation and Maintenance Defense-wide, end quote, for immediate office of the Secretary of Defense that are available as of date of this act shall be obligated or expended until the Secretary of Defense certifies and reports to the Committee of Appropriations of the House of Representatives and the Senate that requirements of Section 5C have been met. And then it says the same thing about the State Department. Their specific section is, quote, diplomatic programs, end quote. God knows what that could be. So that could really shove the defense or the State Department into an ugly place, because God knows what is in there, honestly. And then here's my favorite one. Withholding financial services and general government funds. None of the unobligated balances of funds made available by prior acts making appropriations for financial services and general government under the heading, quote, Executive Office of the President, and funds appropriated to the President, National Security Council, and Homeland Security Council. That's everybody in the White House, people, including who? My favorite person. Are available as of the date of enactment of this act, or may be obligated or expended until the President certifies and reports to the Committee of Appropriations of the House of Representatives in the Senate that the requirements of 5C have been met. I was talking about Jake Sullivan. Obligation requirement. Notwithstanding any other provision of law, the Secretary of Defense and Secretary of State shall be obligated any remaining unobligated balances of funds appropriate or otherwise made available for assistance for Israel not later than 30 days after the date of enactment of this act. Then they want the Inspector General do some reports. They want monthly security assistance report done and sent to several different committees, from Committee Appropriations, Armed Services, Foreign Affairs of the House of Representatives. Same with the Senate. And then it goes, the final paragraph, report on priority defense articles and services not later than 30 days of this date of enactment of this act. The Secretary of Defense, in coordination with Secretary of State, shall provide a written report to committees on appropriations, armed services, foreign affairs of the House of Representatives, and Committee on Appropriations, Armed Services, and Foreign Relations in the Senate, describing urgent and high priority defense articles and defense services for Israel and steps taken or planned to expedite the delivery of such articles and services. If this were to truly pass, like I said, Biden's not going to sign it because they're already pissed about this existing, because of course it restrains them from any type of political bullshit that they're attempting to do now with the whole, like, you going to Rafah, we're screwing you, even though Congress appropriated stuff, right? It will force the White House, the State Department, the Department of Defense in a box that if they want to actually continue with their withholding of defense articles and services to Israel, they'll have to pull the trigger on the Leahy Amendment. This is Are You Ready For It? Take care, guys. Have a great day.